It's the Random Sample, which is LGBT news for S. Johnson's from around the world.
Globe.
Mostly USA, I think.
Yeah, this time around it's USA. Yeah.
So John and I each picked stories that you may have seen or may not have seen that that are from various LGBT sources. A lot of them are local papers or some local websites that exist. So we're going to start off with John and John's first story here on the Random Sample.
Hollywood royalty, Hollywood royalty. See me to my car. This is a Hollywood royalty story, but it's the child of Hollywood royalty, and it's Farrah Fawcett. And I shouldn't be making light of this at all because it's Farrah Fawcett's son, Redmond O'Neal, and this is the son with Ryan O'Neal. Viciously beat a gay man and called him a faggot, lawsuit says. A gay man filed a lawsuit against Redmond O'Neal, the son of actors Farrah Fawcett and Ryan O'Neal, accusing him of a vicious attack motivated by hate. Ken Fox was represented by Gloria Allred.
There you go.
That's, by the way, that we have a.
Is she representing him?
That's a picture. If you're listening, we put a picture up of Redmond O'Neal. That's Farrah's and Ryan O'Neal's son.
Okay.
Looks a little.
Did he get beat up too?
Well, that's a picture from him getting arrested later in the month this happened in. So Ken Fox, was represented by Gloria Allred, said that the attack occurred on May 2nd this year when he was going to a laundromat. Fox said he saw O'Neal approach him wearing a hoodie and he was carrying a bottle. What are you looking at, faggot? Am I allowed to say that? Because they do this little thing.
I think because you're a faggot, you can say it. But I don't know. I mean,
I love Tim. Thank you, Tim. I think you're right.
Isn't that like the N-word?
I think, yeah, I can say it because Fox says that O'Neal rushed at him and hit him in the nose with the bottle. O'Neal stood over him when he was on the ground, taunting him with slurs and punching him while threatening to hit him again with the bottle. He eventually stopped and walked away. O'Neal was arrested after a 4-day crime spree in early May, which police say included attempted murder and possession of meth. The Los Angeles District Attorney filed a felony assault charge in connection with the attack on Fox. But Redmond O'Neal's attorneys are trying to figure out if he's psychologically fit to stand trial. And the man that he beat up says, in my opinion, he is competent enough to know exactly what he was doing. Fox said he wanted to hurt an old, weak, defenseless gay man. He wanted to hurt me, and he did hurt me. Redmond O'Neal came out later with a statement, and he blames his rich parents for this.
Of course,
everything that happened was his parents.
Mother's fault.
And he says in a quote, "The pressure that came with that set off a time bomb in my head." The 33-year-old said, "I never asked for any of this. I never wanted any attention," and being the son of two famous people.
So I decided to do meth. And
crime spree. He was also arrested for possession, attempted murder, possession of meth, a whole list of things. 33, folks.
How old was the guy he beat up?
Oh, I think he was in his mid-60s.
Oh, okay. I'm just wondering how he did. I'm wondering if he, did he look like Charles Nelson Riley with a scarf, or how did he know the guy was gay?
That's not even addressed in the article, and you picked up on something that I was curious about, like why would he just randomly disguise a laundromat, whatever. Although Fox claims he was just minding his own business and paid no mind until Redmond O'Neal came up and started to attack him. So there you go.
It's horrible.
Hollywood royalty.
Is Farrah Fawcett dead? Didn't she die? She died like when somebody else was popular around her. And
didn't she die the same day Michael Jackson died?
Yeah, I think you're right. And it was overshadowed.
Right.
It was overshadowed by Michael Jackson.
Yeah,
okay. So poor Farrah Fawcett got nothing. But she wasn't that old, was she?
No.
Is the husband dead too?
Ryan O'Neal is still very much alive, I think. Yeah.
We should know that, I guess. We're bad. Hollywood royalty.
62.
Who is Ryan O'Neal?
Farrah Fawcett
was 62. Yeah. Okay.
Well, pretty young.
And she did die around Michael Jackson's time, huh?
I think the same day.
Didn't say what she died of. Did she have cancer, maybe? I think she had cancer.
Possible.
I remember that. Yeah, we're off track.
All right.
All right.
That was the first story. Tim, your first story.
This one surprised me only because of the headline. It said, gay couple denied marriage license by town clerk in New York.
Now, you should qualify that by saying upstate New York.
Oh, no. New York. I know you upstate versus New York City, but that's why it caught my eye, was because it was upstate New York. And it was upstate New York, but not really that far upstate. No. It was outside of Albany by about 50 miles west, so I guess that is rural.
Yeah, it's getting there, yeah.
A town called Root, New York. There was a gay couple from upstate, what?
Root, New York?
Root.
That's rural.
R-O-O-T.
Yeah, that's rural. That's, meet me in Root. I have some root beer.
Montgomery County. So Thomas Hurd and Dylan Toffin are from Root, New York. They went to their local courthouse expecting to walk away with a marriage license, and they were turned down by Laurel Erickson. She had claimed that they didn't have an appointment. This is what the lawyers are saying in the town of Root.
Yeah.
Subik is saying that, well, if they had an appointment, she would have given them the license. But she does have a religious objection, and she referred the matter to another deputy clerk who said that they couldn't give the license to them because they didn't have an appointment. So there was all this dancing around, but essentially what they found out later was that, in fact, she opposes same-sex marriage, and openly so, but she really claimed that there was a technicality. And they fought back and got an attorney and said, this still raises the question of why a government official was allowed to avoid doing their job. No one was asking her church to sanction the marriage. They were just asking her as a government official to follow the law. So, of course, Andrew Cuomo, the governor, has stepped in. He said he couldn't believe this was happening in his state, couldn't believe it was happening in New York, as New York was one of the largest states back in 2011 to pass marriage equality. And he said, I'm going to look into this, and this will never happen again. The attorney, again, for the town, this guy named Subik, his name is Robert Subik, he's still trying to dance around. He says, well, they could have gone to another jurisdiction and gotten the license. And they didn't have to get it there. They could have gone somewhere else. But the issue still is the fact that this woman pulled a Kim Davis and decided that based upon her religious beliefs, she was not going to issue them a marriage license.
And it still goes on today.
Right. And that's why I laughed about New York. And, of course, now the ACLU is involved in the capital region of Albany. But, yeah, folks. That's why I looked at it, though, because of New York.
And you are right.
There is very much a big difference between upstate, like there is with Pennsylvania. I mean, there's Philadelphia, and there's Pittsburgh, and in the middle,
it's Kentucky.
It's Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So,
but you are right.
Alabama in the middle.
Your take on it, New York State.
New York State.
If depending on where you live, you don't differentiate downstate from upstate from.
You do.
I do, yeah, because I know.
What was your second story?
All right, the National Lesbian Gay Journalist Association wrapped up their annual convention out in, I believe it was Palm Springs this year, and at the very final event, a volunteer MC got up to speak, and here's what he said. But first, the headline reads, LGBTQ journalism group apologizes after host refers to attendees at event as things and it's. So this guy gets up and volunteer. He's from a Fox station, and
he's gay.
He's gay. His name is Marshall McPeak. He volunteered to do this, and he gets up at the last event. He says, "Ladies and gentlemen, things and it's." The comment was widely regarded as offensive to trans and non-binary reporters in attendance. The minute it happened, a journalist there named Monica Roberts, who is trans, reportedly immediately yelled out, "Oh, no, he did not.
Oh, no, he didn't.
There are no things or it's here." So me and Tim, so basically it was a big kerfuffle, and I don't mean to minimize it at all, but it was a big kerfuffle. But within hours, maybe not as many hours as they wanted to make it, maybe it should have been instantaneous, Marshall McPeak, the guy who did this, apologized and then quit the organization as a way of atonement, and that seemed to be, where it's left off. But me and Tim read this.
Do you think if the Addams family was in attendance?
Well, that's what.
Okay?
So we were like
cousin it and thing.
Cousin it and thing. And we were like, how did he?
How was it delivered?
Yeah,
and was it tape? We haven't
was it
seen
humorous? Was it like ladies and gentlemen, things in it? It's like I don't even know how. I guess it's just inappropriate. Period. But this to me was one of those seminal pieces where you say to yourself, if you're not sure what you're going to say, don't say it. If you have any doubt, was this a joke, you think?
Well, I think he probably felt it was a joke, and I think probably there were people who laughed. I said in all transparency, I probably would have laughed if I heard it because of the absurdity of it, and really I think he was making light of the fact of,
all the letters.
I've said this before, of all the letters and now all the pronouns. And the more we begin to segment ourselves, the more we end up being nothing. Because if you segment everything, you can't measure anything, and you're going to have no power. And I was just recently at the NGLCC event. I was at a cocktail reception All these people had name tags on with all these different pronouns on them. And I would say 99.9% were the pronouns you would have thought: he, him, his, she, hers, whatever. But there were an awful lot of people that were somewhat befuddled, or I don't want to sound comfortable, but like, what, do I really need this on here? Do I really need the pronouns on here? Now, I suppose if you're binary or you're identifying as something other than what you may appear on the surface, that's one thing. But I think that's a conversation you have with somebody if they address you wrong. But I just think this makes things very confusing. You and I got dinged on this when we talked about it with Facebook having 89 different identities. I think the number was 89.
89.
When you go get a driver's license, you're not going to get 89 choices. So,
on the devil's advocate flip side, I love when everybody's represented, and I love when everybody sees themselves in advertising or in a form or a pronoun or representation. But it's complicated. You and I actually talked about this a lot. It's complicated. I can't even keep up with it, to be honest with you.
Oh.
When we were doing our initial work with Subaru for it was the gay and lesbian consumer, or the lesbian and gay. Take your pick. We didn't really care if the L and the G, which came first, but that was how it was. And when we were in marketing meetings and we started to add in...
It's about same-sex couples.
Same-sex couples. And we started to add in other things, things in it. When we started to add in other segmentation possibilities or ideas, it literally was confusing to the people we were presenting to.
And then things get shut down, because one of the examples was there was somebody from a bear magazine that was bombarding senior management.
Cubs and otters, and
But they were. You need to be advertising to bears. You're missing an opportunity with bears. So we're sitting in the meeting, and LGBT comes up, and one of the innocent straight allies says, "Is the B for bears?"
Yeah.
No, it's bisexuals. Bisexuals. And then it started going down the rabbit hole where you could see we're trying to sell a program in for gay and lesbian consumers, and when you start adding in all the other letters and everything else, it's like you said, representation is one thing, but when you continue to segment and resegment and segment again and again, you're going to end up with nothing.
Well, and in the example you're giving, it gave them an extremely simple decision to make.
Yeah.
I'm confused. I don't want to deal with this right now. Let's just not do it. And it's not that they didn't approve, but it literally was, I can't think about this right now. It's too complex. It's not as simple as here's the three demographics.
Well, when you brought this story to my attention, I went and I looked up. There's a whole site about how to handle all these different pronouns now that people want to be addressed with.
Wow.
And there were flags now. So similar to the rainbow flag, I think there were 4 or 5 different flags that are addressed for gender neutral, gender fluid, all the other non-binary. And I said to you, I was almost going to post the flags and say, does anybody know what these flags are?
No,
because
I've never. By the way, this is news to me. I had no idea there were even flags for
didn't
it.
either, but maybe we're bad gays.
All right, so that was an unfortunate event at the close of the NLGJA conference out in Palm Springs.
But I would have liked to have seen the delivery to
actually see, was he attempting a bad joke or whatever?
Other than somebody getting on Twitter and immediately going crazy. My second one, I laughed at this one. I don't know if you've watched any of this, but the headline is, "Man arrested for blindfolding straight men and tricking them into making gay porn."
This was confusing.
Has this ever happened to you boys? You ever been blindfolded and tricked?
I don't know. I decided to keep the blindfold on. I didn't want to risk it.
Then you'll never know. Yeah. Good one.
So there's this gay porn producer. He's made over 600 videos of him tricking straight men.
600, and he's
facing prison.
He's
facing prison. He's been arrested for blindfolding men and tricking them into making gay porn. His name is Brian Denoumastier, or Mostier. I'm going to pronounce it wrong, or say it wrong, but we'll just call him Brian. He's 33. He was arrested this week. He faces 5 charges in relation to the porn site Straight Boys, B-O-Y with a Z. And that's one of the videos there, that's Straight Boy. And that's Brian on the right. So he was arrested. So the videos are of an amateur nature. And they're a version of the very popular themed, you've probably seen these on Pornhub or these sites if you were cruising around, called Bait Bus. And there's these guys they pick up, and they get him in the van, and they say, "Oh, I've got a woman who's going to service you."
The woman's actually there to start,
She's there, and she talks to him. They blindfold him, but those are all scripted. That's like a Jerry Springer show. So those are all scripted, and they're called the bait bus. And the blindfold comes off, and then they convince the guy, if you finish up with the guy, then we'll give you money. Now, I used to think it was real until I saw somebody Derek and Romaine had on that was a gay porn star that was on the bait bus.
Oh, okay.
So I realized that, this is all scripted.
All fantasy.
But this is not. So this guy goes on Craigslist in Homestead, California, and pretends he's a bored housewife and invites the boys over to the house. And so when they come in, he dupes them and says they arrive at the house. They agree to be blindfolded or wear blacked out goggles. They're then tied to the chair and they wear headphones so they can't hear anything. They lean back and they get service. There's no narrative in the porn. And they said they do the deed, and then they move on. And the guys all say they always want to ask for assurance that there's no cameras or anything. He assures them that his wife is married, and he's in the Army, and he would never photograph them because they wouldn't want to get caught. So these guys have found out, in fact, they are being videotaped. Now, I, of course, did a search. You can find, the site's been taken down, but you can Google and find videos on third-party sites. This made me laugh. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security is investigating. And they said
hardly a Homeland Security
he was charged with 2 counts of illegal interception of oral communication, along with 3 counts of record-keeping violations. What would the record-keeping violation be?
I don't know. It's like a chicken scratch.
So I guess
like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I thought illegal interception of oral communication. So that's recording somebody.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, John, so straight boys with a Z.
Getting tricked by bored housewives on Craigslist. Right off the bat, don't you suspect? It's like I was telling Tim coming over here, an old neighbor of mine.
Too good to be true.
An old neighbor of mine said he was contacted by the Publishers Clearinghouse, and he won $1 million, and would he please spend $1,000 before they came to give him the prize? Here's the bank routing number. Oh, there you go. If you believe that, Santa's going to be giving you the check. Okay. I'm wrapping up my random sample with a story about an LA coffee shop called Cuties Coffee.
Cuties?
Cuties Coffee. It's a LGBTQ coffee shop, and it's run by Virginia Bauman and Iris Bainham-Hool. And it's opened in 2017, July 2017. Both the owners are 34. And sadly, the coffee shop may be going away. I love the idea behind it. The idea is most spaces where gay people meet tend to be gay bars, or in the past it was a lesbian bar as well. But it's male, it's gay. Usually
it's alcohol related.
It revolves around cocktails and dancing and whatever else. So having a space for trans individuals, for all members of the community to come and just be around other gay people, not in a bar setting, is a really cool idea. But business has been tough. They took to Patreon, which is a crowdfunding site to raise money to keep the place open. They raised enough to keep it open for another month or two, but they pay their employees, a good wage, and the donations alone can't cover that. So unfortunately, it's going to be maybe closing by the end of, I think it was going to be October or November. New York has a similar coffee shop called Blue Stockings, but it's run by volunteers. It's on the Lower East Side, and that volunteer component is what makes it actually feasible, because they're not paying salaries and they're paying overhead and space, but they're not paying all those salaries. So Cuties will never be a volunteer-powered establishment, and they're grappling with this problem now. But it's kind of sad to me.
Just the demise of the...
Well, I thought this.
Gay space.
You read my mind. This is one of the reasons this caught my eye. Was used to be bookshops. I mean, it wasn't that I went cruising in a bookshop or something, but it was a place where you met like-minded people who recommended a certain author or a book. And not every gay bookshop was crammed with gay books. It was normal fiction as well. It was that. It was
independent bookseller.
And in the article, which is from the New York Times, the author points out the fact that in many big cities, even though the level of acceptance seems to be higher than it was and is in many regards, many years ago, if you're gay and you're coming out, you want to see what other gay people even look like and act like. I mean, a coffee shop's a perfect place to go.
You want to feel part of a community.
That's exactly right. You want to feel part of something that reaffirms that you're not, off in your own little place, and you're going to have a decent life. So that was the.
That's too bad. I hate when those
CDs.
kind of places close.
Yeah, because it's so well intentioned, and they really, made a great space. But that's the harsh reality of owning a store, right?
My third one, if anybody's on the West Coast, or I think we've talked about it before, I love In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah, whenever we've been out there for anything, you
always get
make a
In-N-Out
point of-
Burger.
yeah.
But apparently Trump fans are trying to turn In-N-Out into the new Chick-fil-A.
Really.
So in the latest salvo in the fast food wars, In-N-Out Burger has become the center of a fight between Trump supporters and opponents because of a donation that In-N-Out made to the California Republican Party. So they said the controversy started when word got out that the California-based chain made a $25,000 donation to the GOP, and said the move wasn't popular in California, where Republicans run third, actually, behind Democrats and independents in registrations for voters. They said they found themselves the target of a boycott among disinfected liberals.
Disaffected.
What did I say?
Disinfected.
Disaffected.
Which I guess still works, but
Angry liberals, egged on by the Democratic State Party Chairman Eric Bauman. So they essentially said that they're now equating In-N-Out as the newest Chick-fil-A chain, and they're encouraging people to support them, similar to supporting Chick-fil-A for their opposition of LGBTQ rights. So they said the NRA has even jumped in on this, as has InfoWars' Alec Jones, by encouraging people to eat at In-N-Out because it's making the liberals upset. And they said In-N-Out has never taken the kind of high-profile political stand that Chick-fil-A has. For 3 decades, the company has been including references to Bible verses on the inside rim of its cups. Now, do you remember that?
yes, I do. Yeah.
So on the inside rim of the bottoms of the cups at In-N-Out, we've seen it when you and I have eaten there.
Mm-hmm.
They have references that are very discreet, and you have to really look to find them. And the Bible passages were the idea of Richard Snyder, the son of one of the founders. And they said, but in the burger chain's defense, they also did contribute the same amount of modest donation to the Democratic Party. So they said that they donated to both parties. They said a lot of companies do this. For instance, Amazon.
I was just going to say, you taught me this years and years ago. You never know who's going to win, so they always do 50-50.
They do 50-50. And they gave an example here of Amazon gave $350 to the Republicans, and they gave $350 to $350,000 to the Democrats, because whenever it comes time for whether there's legislation or taxation or buying things, whatever, or you want to get around some regulations.
Isn't it? Don't we call it access? It's access. Companies are concerned about access.
Support both equally, and whoever wins, you're going to be okay because you supported both. But anyway, I was wondering if this is going to take hold, because I'm wondering how many people did know about the In-N-Out's Bible verses on the insides of their cups. I shouldn't say it didn't bother me, but I guess it didn't bother me.
It never bothered me. It never bothered me. No.
I don't think it was a slap in the head, but would it bother you? Or I guess it doesn't.
No. I mean, because I thought they were pretty innocuous. Love thy neighbor as you love thyself. Like, you know what I'm getting at? Like they weren't like, Leviticus says.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are bad.
Hey, that's all right. So that wraps up the random sample, right?
Yeah.